Tom Dwan has faced down poker legends, stared through bluffs, and played pots worth more than most people's houses without ever breaking a sweat. But in May 2025, the poker world was blindsided. This time, the game wasn't high-stakes poker. It was something far more personal and far more serious. The cards were gone. The chips didn't matter. Dwan had been hospitalized. Involuntary. It all began with a cryptic tweet posted on May 9, 2025. Just 3 words. But the impact was immediate and chilling. Am I safe? From Tom Dwan, it was alarming. This wasn't a meme or promotion. It read like a somewhat confusing cry for help. Within hours, poker forums lit up. Pros, fans, and longtime followers all asked the same question. What's going on with Tom Dwan? But it wasn't just friends and fans that had noticed the disturbing tweet. Just days later, rumors were confirmed. Dwan had been involuntarily detained in the UK under Section 2 of the Mental Health Act, which allows authorities to hold someone for up to 28 days for assessment if they are believed to be a risk to themselves or others. Things were happening fast, but for the poker public, not many facts were known. The call no one saw coming. Dwan had been in London, reportedly staying near the Mayfair district. Though the full story remains murky, multiple sources close to the situation say someone from Dwan's inner circle, possibly a friend or associate, made the call to authorities after a disturbing conversation. Whether it was genuine concern or a legal overreach is still under scrutiny. In the UK, being sectioned is not a light matter. Mental health professionals and law enforcement can detain someone involuntarily if 2 doctors and an approved mental health practitioner agree on it. It's meant to prevent, but when applied to someone like Dwan, who has long been known for his intensity and unfiltered demeanor, it created immediate controversy. Sectioned. In late April, Tom Dwan was placed in a psychiatric facility against his will. For days, he was cut off from the world, no phone, no internet, and no way to contact the outside. Under constant observation, he became a patient, unrecognizable from the fearless Durr, who once bluffed millions off legends like Phil Ivey and Patrick Antonius. Fans were left refreshing social media, searching for updates, but there were none. The man who once dominated Full Tilt's nosebleed tables had vanished behind hospital walls, and everyone had a lot of questions.
I've just come out of the Park Royal Centre for Mental Health after speaking with Tom Dwan. He's clearly under the supervision of the NHS here in Middlesex, just outside of London. I spoke with him for about 15 to 20 minutes. He spoke to me at length about what he believes he's gone through. I can assure you that he is looking well. He appeared physically unharmed. And as I said, probably in exactly the right place to continue to get better.
No escape. For most of his poker career, Dwan thrived on pressure. He made his name on chaos. But this wasn't a game. There was no opponent to outwit, no river card to bail him out. The poker world kept circling back to that tweet. Am I safe? Was it paranoia? A moment of mental instability? Or was it a warning, a sign that something real and dangerous was unfolding behind the scenes? While the exact length of Tom Dwan's detention remains unconfirmed, it's believed he was held for at least the initial 72-hour evaluation period. After his reported release, speculation only grew louder. And just as the poker world began demanding answers, whispers of a potential lawsuit began to surface. All in against the system. As whispers turned to headlines in late May 2025, it became clear that Dwan's detainment in the UK wasn't just a private mental health matter. It was about to become a public fight. Behind the scenes, sources close to Dwan hinted that legal action was in motion. What started as concern for his well-being had morphed into something else entirely. A high-stakes clash between personal freedom and state authority. In the UK, being sanctioned under the Mental Health Act allows the government to detain someone against their will, even without criminal charges, if they're deemed a potential risk. But what happens when that power is used on someone who says he didn't need help, who says he was targeted unfairly? Dwan has always been known for his calm under pressure, his ability to read a situation and strike back without fear. And now it seems he's taking that same approach with the people who put him in a hospital room without his consent. The poker community watched with stunned fascination as early reports of a potential lawsuit began to surface. This wasn't just a comeback. This was war. We scoured the internet to find the absolute craziest poker stories. Now it's your turn to help out. Hit like and subscribe to keep the epic poker content rolling. The lawsuit. Tom Dwan, through legal representation, is reportedly preparing to file suit against the authorities or individuals responsible for his involuntary hospitalization. The exact target of the case remains under wraps, but sources suggest it could involve both the UK mental health system and private parties, possibly even friends who may have triggered the detention. So the question now is, was this a legitimate intervention for someone in crisis? Or was it, as Dwan's rumored legal strategy suggests, a massive overreach, a misuse of psychiatric law that robbed him of his freedom, his privacy, and his reputation? The legal case may hinge on several key questions. Was the detainment lawful under the standards of the UK's Mental Health Act? Did those who raised the alarm have valid reasons or ulterior motives? Was Dwan given due process or simply swept away by a system that doesn't understand people like him? If the case moves forward, it could expose uncomfortable truths, not just about mental health law in the UK, but about how easily someone can lose control of their life with just a phone call and a vague claim. For Dwan, this isn't about revenge. It's about justice and restoring the image of a man who once held the poker world in awe. But then came the bombshell. Drugged for days. Out of nowhere, a series of frantic, unfiltered messages hit social media. Tom Dwan, one of poker's most elusive legends, claimed he'd been locked away in a London psychiatric facility against his will. But this wasn't some 72-hour hold. According to Dwan, he was trapped for 10 days, drugged, isolated, and stripped of every basic right. He said they broke his rib, damaged his hand, confiscated his phone, and deleted his attempts to call for help. But the most haunting accusation? His so-called updates had been coerced while under heavy sedation. He says he never consented to the treatment, that he was effectively a prisoner, medicated and muted for over a week. This tweet was coerced out of me. They restrain people and inject them with drugs. Was supposed to have phone back after 5 to 10 minutes. Ended up not having access for 2 weeks plus. Obviously judged some details wrong and got paranoid on some stuff. I need to go to a beach ASAP. This wasn't Durr bluffing. These were the words of a man who believed he was being chemically subdued, sedated into silence. One day later, a bizarre twist. A calm message from his account. I'm feeling better. Now he's threatening legal action. He says his rights were ignored, his voice stolen, and his mind deliberately fogged. Forced timeout. Tom Dwan didn't step away from the felt because he wanted to. He was yanked out, physically, legally, and publicly. For someone who once played 10,000 hands a week online, who traveled the world chasing the biggest private games in Macau, Vegas, and beyond, being told to sit still may have been the cruelest part. Whether or not he wanted help, whether or not it was justified, the outcome is the same. Tom Dwan was removed from the table without ever getting a chance to muck his own cards. And now he's left with a question few pros ever have to ask themselves. What does coming back even look like? While Dwan may be gearing up for a legal battle today, this isn't the first time he's found himself trapped in a mess with no easy way out. Long before the psychiatric hold, there was another haunting chapter in his legacy. One that started with confidence, but ended in silence, debt, and disappointment. Let's talk about the Durr Challenge. The challenge heard round the world. It was 2009 and Tom Dwan wasn't just a rising star. He was the gravitational force pulling online poker into a new era. Under the screen name Durr, Dwan was redefining what aggression looked like. He was 3-betting light, running triple barrel bluffs, and treating million-dollar swings like coin flips. He was fearless, and he wanted the world to know it. So he did something insane. He challenged the poker world to a heads-up war. 50,000 hands, $200 to $400 stakes, and the kicker? A side bet worth $1.5 million if anyone beat him. He only stood to win $500,000 in return. This wasn't just about money, it was about dominance, legacy, branding. Dwan didn't want to win, he wanted to humiliate his opponents in public, with Full Tilt Poker as the stage and tens of thousands of railbirds watching. And the poker world bit. Players lined up to take their shot. Patrick Antonius, Phil Ivey considered it, so did David Benjamin. But it would be two players, one who stepped in early and another who would refuse to step out, that changed the legacy of the challenge. Antonius Folds, Jungle Man doesn't. Patrick Antonius was first in the ring. Stylish, calculated, and stone-faced, Antonius was no slouch. He accepted the terms, sat down, and started trading haymakers with Dwan. For a while it looked like a real rivalry, but momentum shifted. After nearly 40,000 hands, Dwan was up over $2 million and Antonius tapped out. The match fizzled out without an official finish, but few doubted who had won. Dwan was looking like an absolute poker genius that could beat anyone. Then came Daniel Jungle Man Cates. Cates wasn't just a skilled player, he was a machine. Analytical, relentless, and absurdly focused. Jungle Man didn't care about Dwan's reputation, he came to win, and he started landing punches early. Within 20,000 hands, Jungle Man had built a lead of over $1.2 million, a massive deficit for Dwan, who had once looked untouchable. What made it worse? Cates wasn't getting lucky. He was outplaying Dwan hand after hand. The online crowd noticed, the tables had turned, the legend was on the ropes. And then, just as the heat reached its peak, Tom Dwan vanished. No formal announcement, no scheduled continuation, just long silences, occasional tweets, and a few awkwardly played hands years later that felt more like obligation than competition. Jungle Man kept waiting and waiting. The poker world kept asking, is he ever going to finish? The Great Vanish. Excuses followed. Dwan cited travel, personal obligations, the difficulty of scheduling. He popped up in Macau, rumored to be playing ultra-high-stakes private games against wealthy Chinese businessmen. He made a few rare TV appearances, but the challenge? Frozen in time. Years passed, and Jungle Man, no longer the young upstart, now a force in his own right, finally spoke up. He confirmed what the community had long suspected. Dwan wasn't just behind, he owed money. Real money. For breach of contract, for side bets, for broken promises.
And while we're on the subject of outstanding debts, one of the most infamous examples was Tom Dwan owing you money for a long time after the heads-up match between you never finished. What's the update on that? Is that all paid off?
It's not all paid off, but like, look, so Tom is at least like putting effort in to try to make good on his debts. And like, he's not 100% bad because he is doing some things. And at some point, I mean, I definitely exacerbated things by being a bit too angry with him. I struggle still a little with when to express anger with people. Yeah, now, I mean, you want him to do well. This is one of these cases where, like, you want him to, like, win money and whatever. Don't we all want everyone to win? I think, isn't that the plan?
But now, Black Friday has come and gone, but the Durr challenge remained like a ghost tethered to Dwan's name. A legend turned liability. He wasn't just the guy who challenged the world, he was the guy who didn't finish what he started. The poker world never forgot the brilliance, but they also never forgave the silence. And with every year that passed, the myth of Tom Dwan, the fearless phenom, became harder to separate from the man who walked away. And what does Jungle Man have to say about all of this? Durr Discredited. By the mid-2010s, Tom Dwan had gone from online sensation to enigma. His mystique, once rooted in bold plays and brutal bluffs, was beginning to curdle into something else. Frustration. Suspicion? Disappointment. The online community that once idolized him started asking harder questions. Why hasn't he finished the challenge? Why won't he address Jungle Man publicly? And how can someone so revered just vanish from accountability? Dwan had built his empire on unpredictability and confidence, but when it came time to face consequences, he folded without showing his hand. Fans who grew up admiring him began shifting their loyalty to players who showed up, squared off, and kept their word. A bankroll in ruins. Tom Dwan's fall wasn't televised. It was whispered. After disappearing from the public online grind, Dwan reported shifting his focus to private high-stakes games in Macau and Manila, where the pots were bigger, the lights dimmer, and the money flowed in silence. But with those games came rumors, massive swings, seven-figure losses, and a brutal reality. The edge that once made Dwan dangerous was no longer exclusive. He was still respected, still feared by some, but no longer trusted in the same way. But like any wild ride, Tom Dwan's story isn't all lows. Before the controversies and chaos, Dwan was feared for one reason. He was brilliant. He didn't just play poker, he reshaped it. Let's rewind to the moments that made Durr a legend. The online wrecking ball. Before he was a high-stakes legend, Tom Dwan, known to the world as Durr, was an online poker hurricane. Logging into Full Tilt Poker in the mid-2000s was like stepping into Dwan's playground. His weapon of choice? Heads up, no limit hold'em at nosebleed stakes. At just 21, he was regularly battling, and often humiliating, legends like Phil Ivey, Patrick Antonius, and even Victor Isildur I Blom. Dwan once turned a $50 deposit into over $5 million. He wasn't just beating people, he was redefining how the game could be played. His hyper-aggressive style, bizarre lines, and fearless bluffs turned every hand into a highlight reel. And while the online world was still adjusting to standard aggression, Dwan was light years ahead, shoving stacks in spots that made GTO theorists break into a cold sweat. The WSOP bracelet that got away. If there's one paradox in Tom Dwan's career, it's this. He's one of the most feared and respected players of all time, and he's never won a WSOP bracelet. It's not for lack of trying. In 2010, Dwan came within inches of claiming his first at a $1,500 no-limit hold'em event. He finished runner-up out of nearly 2,500 players, losing heads-up to Simon Watt. The moment was electric, not just because of the money, but because of the side bets riding on Dwan finally winning a bracelet. Rumor has it, if Dwan had taken it down, he stood to win millions more in prop bets from some of the biggest names in poker. Everyone from Phil Ivey to Mike Matisau was sweating the outcome. But fate had other plans. Despite dozens of WSOP cashes and deep runs in high roller events across the globe, the bracelet remains elusive. And somehow, that missing piece has only added to the legend of Tom Dwan, a man so feared, he doesn't need a trophy to prove it. The Milliondoll Bluff. In 2009, Tom Dwan pulled off one of the ballsiest bluffs in televised poker history. The setting? Full Tilt's $1 million cash game. The stakes? $500 to $1,000 with a $200,000 minimum buy-in. Dwan tangled with Sammy George in a hand that's become the stuff of legend. With nothing but 7 high, Dwan triple-barreled into a pot that ballooned to over $500,000. George had top pair, and he folded. The table sat in stunned silence. When Dwan turned over his cards, even the seasoned pros couldn't help but smile in disbelief. "If I had the nuts, I wouldn't play it like that," he joked. But the truth was obvious. Very few people in the world would even try that bluff, let alone make it work. The one hand cemented his status as the king of controlled chaos. It wasn't luck. It was timing, courage, and next-level poker IQ. Make sure you like and subscribe to never miss a sick suck-out, epic poker fight, or legendary win. Thanks for watching.